So, the other day, the strangest thing happened to me. So I was going out to do a normal, boring, long run, 14 kilometers. I thought, I can't only be arsed going so slow all the damn time. I'm sick of looking after myself. I'm sick of babying my body. Why don't I just, dance with the devil? Let loose a little bit. See how I go. It felt great, like a long lost friend. And then I remembered that I used to really enjoy this very specific feeling. And that feeling is running really fast. That addiction to running fast. And then I thought, you know what? It is time for a running reboot, baby. Let's go. Morning, freaks. It is Wednesday the 6th of August. We are getting on the grind this week. Time for some speed. Now, the plan was to do some hill stuff, but the hill behind me has construction going on. So I'm going to do 5 times 3 minutes at a, quote, threshold level. I don't know what my threshold level is right now because, I've basically just been hobbling around the last 18 months. But today, we're going to figure it out. Let's do it. Hopefully I don't positive split. Woo! So I'm in the Super Blast 2s because I've, bought them and then just basically never worn them. So I'm going to get some use out of these. I'm definitely not going to be recording every single rep, vlog style with my phone out like this because I might very well be breathing quite hard. And also, who really cares? So I'll just check back in with you when I'm done. I just went to the toilet really quick before I start, but what the hell is this? Okay, we've got to lock it in now. Warm up is done. I got distracted and ended up walking with a friend that I saw, but now we're gonna lock it. 5 rounds done. 3:41. Okay, pace 4 of the 3-minute blocks. Let's go. So there you go. A nicely paced workout. Look at that. Nice negative split. Pretty good. Now the thing that annoys me so much about running, especially when you get back into it and you start doing sessions and stuff, is just the amount of little niggles and tweaks and like discomforts and stuff that you experience. Like it's like a little test just to make sure that you know how to like manage yourself. Like, 5 weeks ago, my tibialis posterior started hurting. And so, I took it easy. And then 2 weeks later, my shin on the right side started hurting. And then today, for some random reason, my right glute just started hurting. Basically, as soon as I started jogging, that's just the reality of running. It's hard. And I sometimes forget about that. So if I want to run fast again, I'm going to have to get super strong and also be resilient enough to actually absorb all the training. But let's go start to stretch this glute out before it gets too tight. Also, the hats are still for sale. Get around them while they last. Red, orange, tealy blue, amazing stuff. Oh, now, here's some brutal honesty about my running. Well, my running has essentially been dead for the last 18 months. And quite frankly, this YouTube channel has also kind of slowly died off because I've not really been running. And it makes sense, right? Like, why would a YouTube channel do well when the person that's supposed to be talking about running all the time isn't actually running? It's kind of really stupid. So this is not just a reboot of my running for this new YouTube series. It's also a reboot of this channel. We're going to get back to the basics, get back on the running grind. Okay, I'm going to try and document this process of me going from, a pretty shitty, out of shape, slightly, a couple of kilos too heavy runner into a fit, lean, savage and hopefully get some PBs. But what are the PBs to beat? Well, the first one up for me, and something that I really want to get done, is get over this 17:17 5K PB. I feel like I'm a much better, or I was a much better runner when I actually ran that, considering that when I did 17:17, it was like 29 degrees on that day, and you know, that's pretty damn hot. So the first thing that I'm going to be training for is getting on top of that, hopefully running sub 17 minutes in the 5K. Hey, it might take an entire year. It might take 6 months. I don't think it is going to take too long because of the way that I'm actually training now. It's much more smarter. It's much more methodological. Is that a word? But what's not fun is this damn glute pain that I've had for the last, you know, couple of hours for some damn reason. I'd probably call this phase in my running my like newbie niggle phase. You know when you're a noob at running and you just get like all kinds of niggles all over your body all the time because you're just not resilient enough to actually tolerate the impact? That is the stage that I'm in right now, but that's okay. Gotta stay humble, gotta push through this phase and get it done, baby. So the last, you know, couple of months, say 3 or 4 months since having my hip surgery, I've basically just been in a attitude of gratitude. I'm just happy to not be in pain anymore. I'm just happy to not be bloody hobbling around the place with this damn hip issue. And since my surgery, it's been heaps better, and I've been expecting and waiting for this attitude change and this mindset shift from this attitude of gratitude to an attitude of hunger and displeasure in my current situation. And that happened a week ago. I'm now so hungry to get back into it. Also, there's this huge worm right here. Look at this. Look at the worm. Now, depending on how I go this week, I'll either do a park run on Saturday to test out my fitness, which will be really good content, right? Like, oh, my Strava says that I can run this time. I wonder if it's right, you know? Might get the old clickbait titles going again. Probably not, actually. Or if my glute still feels a little bit niggly, then I'll probably just, you know, take it easy and we'll do a Q&A. So if you have any questions with the Q&A that might happen, chuck them in the comments below. Let's get home and talk about how I'm going to be training. Also, I've become a bit of like a puffer jacket wearer because I realized that puffer jackets are actually warmer than hoodies, and no one told me about that until I didn't have any hoodies and all I had was this puffer jacket to wear. And now I realize that puffer jackets are pretty cool, even though they look pretty weird. Yeah, let's get home. Okay, so here is how I'm going to be structuring my training from now until the end of time. And I call it my kind of ground up approach. Some people call it the triphasic model, which is a pretty fancy name. I don't know, it has many names, but it's a ground up approach. You see, fitness is like a wave. It goes up and then you hit a peak and then it goes down. And this is the biggest mistake that I've made in my past, is trying to extend that peak and ride the wave as far as I can. And pretty much all that happens is I end up way worse off in the long term. So the triphasic model, let's say we have the goal race pace, whatever that is for you, in the middle of this graph. Now, phase one is what I like to call like a base phase or like a resilience building phase. The idea behind this is that we're going to build massive amounts of aerobic volume, which is going to help us to absorb anything that's harder in the future. You know, all of those threshold sessions and those lactate sessions and, you know, stuff like that. It's all going to be able to be absorbed if we have a bigger base. Now, on the other side of this spectrum, this speed spectrum, is really fast running. Now, right now in this base phase, we don't have the capacity to do lots and lots and lots of really hard running because, once again, we have not built up that resilience just yet. So what we do is we do things like strides and hill sprints and things that are really, really short that helps us to get ourselves used to running fast, get ourselves used to doing high impact force things, get that neuromuscular system really dialed in and build that running efficiency that you only really get from running really, really fast. That is phase one. Really slow running and really fast running. And we can do this basically indefinitely. But what I like to do, or what I want to do, is to switch to the next phase, the phase 2 of this protocol, once we start to see that our easy running isn't actually getting any faster for the same heart rate and things like that. That means that our body has kind of absorbed the maximum amount of this aerobic base that it can right now, and it's probably best to start to ride this wave up. Then the next phase is the capacity building phase. We're going to start to really push that slope up towards that peak, but we're going to do it in a really controlled way. Okay, we can't right now run lots of volume at goal race pace. We just don't have the fitness. We don't have the actual resilience in the tissues to do that. What do is we build our capacity. Okay, so we're going to try and bridge the gap between the neuromuscular stuff and the goal race pace and start to do intervals, extended intervals at a fast pace. So we're going to continue to build on that neuromuscular strength and that, running economy, stuff like that. And on the other side, we're going to start to bridge the gap between goal race pace and our easy running. Okay, we're going to start to build that next layer of this aerobic pyramid. Okay, this can look like many different things for different kind of race goals. For me, looking to get better at a 5K race pace, it's going to be lots and lots of threshold related stuff. Okay, so 20, 30 seconds off my goal 5K race pace. But what this means is, because it's not that fatiguing, you can do much more volume in a session. Okay, think about a 5K session. Potentially, you might do 4 to 5 kilometers worth of volume at goal race pace before you're completely cooked. With a threshold session, providing that you obviously start to build into it slowly, once you're in this capacity phase, you could probably do 8, 10 kilometers at threshold. That is lots and lots of aerobic stimulus without that fatigue and that high, lactate buildup and stuff that usually comes with a goal race pace. Now, phase 3 is this peaking area where you're really trying to dial in this specific goal race pace. Okay, you have to do efforts at that goal race pace, but this can't last very long. This can only last maybe 4 to 6 weeks, because you're building up a lot of fatigue, you're building up a lot of muscle breakdown, because this goal race pace stuff is really, really hard, and you cannot kind of get there and get the most out of it unless you've done the other 2 phases to begin with, so we can build this peak right up to the top. Okay, this is really, really important, and I'm probably going to aim for maybe November or December of this year to be looking at that kind of stage. Okay, I'm building into that capacity phase now, and I'm going to do lots of capacity stuff and then try and peak a little bit later in the year. Maybe I can run my goal, maybe I can't, I don't know, but whatever I can do by then is probably the most that my body's going to let me do before I have to recharge, recover, let the body heal, and then get back into another base building phase. Does that all make sense? But the thing is, this kind of requires some pretty specific training zones and paces and understanding where your physiology is actually at any one stage. And so to have an accurate 3-stage protocol-y thing like this in this triphasic model, I probably need to do like a fundamental fitness test, and that's probably what I'll do this weekend. So that might be the next episode. Otherwise, it'll be the week after if my bum is still a little bit sore. I don't know. I'll see you guys on the weekend. Peace.